Cave syndrome describes people who are not just ready to go back to normal life. Now, we have to be very careful when we use the word syndrome because there are multiple reasons as to why someone might be reluctant or hesitant. So this can include adaptive reasons, inconvenience, or perhaps feeling emotional burden. What we do know is that this transition has been difficult for some people.
Parts of 2 school years have been impacted by the pandemic with lots of at-home learning. Many kids across the country, across the province, will be heading to in-person classes for the first time in quite a while. What are some of the signs that you can see in your own kids that they may be afflicted by cave syndrome?
Resistance to going back to school. There could be oppositional behavior. We also want to keep a lookout as to whether or not there's withdrawal from activities that they are used to engaging in. And for parents and guardians, being mindful of whether or not there have been major changes to the baseline of their child or children's behavior is what we want to keep a lookout for.
You mentioned that there is a focus on kids with the return to in-person learning, but adults can be impacted by this as well with the return to in-person work. So what are some of the signs that you may recognize in friends and family members as adults that they might be dealing with some issues?
A lot of the organizations I work with, this is what we're talking about, this idea of how do we support our employees returning back to work. They might not feel comfortable of breaking that habit of working from home all the time. And so looking for those signs of resistance or actually asking them what their boundaries are, what they feel comfortable with is going to be incredibly important. We can't just talk about return to work. We can't just talk about return to school. It really is now a conversation about return to life.
We've discussed what cave syndrome is and what are some of the signs that people who may be impacted by it. What are some tips that you have for people watching this right now to help get people through it?
First thing I want to talk about is routines and structure. If we're talking about kids going back to school, you know there's going to be new routines once school year starts. So let's start talking about that right now. What is that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? And that leads me into my second point, where we want to create a safe space where we have these conversations and allow our children or our coworkers or our peers to express what their fears might be. What are their concerns? And creating that space, validating their feelings is incredibly important.
What about feelings of guilt? Because, I mean, we have been stuck inside without that social interaction for so long. You would think that everyone would want to get back out there, but a lot of people are reticent to do so. So how do we approach those feelings of guilt, both from personally and what we're seeing from our friends and family?
This reluctance or this hesitancy, it's understandable, right? We've been home for such a long period of time, those of us who have been working from home. So if we are hesitant, it's knowing that that is a natural response to what it is that we have experienced. As individuals, it's also important for us to share those boundaries, whether it's with our peers, our family, or our coworkers, because it allows them the opportunity to not only respect them, but also support us through the process.
Rumeet, it was great to talk to you again. Thanks for this, very informative, and have a fantastic rest of the summer.
Thank you so much, Mike. Take good care.